starting as usual, gaming news. So, this week there's been a couple things. We finally got a bit of a breakdown on Microsoft's new Xbox consoles. We know a bit more about them. We don't know the exact specifics for the hardware, but we do know general information about the hardware. For example, we already knew they were doing two systems. There was going to be a budget-friendly version that was going to be more focused on streaming, and then there was going to be a more professional, hardcore, really beefy system that are code-named Xbox Lockhart, which is the more streaming-based system, and Xbox Anaconda, which is the more beefy-based system. Xbox Lockhart is expected to have a custom 8-core CPU. The GPU is supposed to be a 4-plus teraflop custom Navi GPU, and the RAM is supposed to be 12 gigabytes of 12 gigabytes of RAM plus GDDR6 from the GPU. And the storage is supposed to be a 1 terabyte solid state drive that goes to 1 plus gigs a second.
That's just going to be like the biggest change. I mean, people are going to say like, oh, everything looks better. Oh yeah, the graphics look better, yada yada yada. You're just not going to get as big a jump as you've had in the past. That's just not going to happen anymore for the rest of our lives. But the jump from hard drive to SSD, that's the best improvement you're going to get.
It's going to be nice because obviously games are getting bigger, which means load times are getting a bit longer. They've been able to cut down a bit on load times, but at the same time, it's that they've been tied to a traditional hard drive for so long that it's nice to see them bringing in a true solid state drive as the main hard drive.
I just want to say,
just like Sony is, like when we covered the PS5 specs a couple of weeks ago.
I would compare like a typical hard drive that would be in a console or an external hard drive. They're all like slow ones, 5400 RPM hard drives. I would compare a hard drive like that. The difference between that and a solid state drive, it's the difference if you went back 20 years, the difference between a Nintendo 64 cartridge, a game on a cartridge, versus like a PlayStation 1 game. Because there were like some
cartridge versus disc, yeah.
Yeah, terrible loading screens on PlayStation 1. Really, really bad. And
yeah.
you know, PlayStation 1, what they had back then, they had the space for like full motion videos, and there just wasn't any room on that on a cartridge back then. But that was really they could have better music and full motion videos on PlayStation versus cartridge. Anything more about these consoles you guys say?
The Xbox Anaconda's specs is similar, but obviously a bit more beefy in regards to the GPU, which is again a custom Navi GPU, but instead of 4 plus teraflops, it's running at 12 plus teraflops, and the RAM is going from 12 gigs to 16 gigs. It will still have a 1 terabyte solid state drive, and it will still have a custom 8-core CPU. Keeping in mind that I believe the Xbox One X has 6 teraflops, correct? I believe. So this would basically be double the power of the Xbox One X, which is the current leader when it comes to console.
Yeah, traditional consoles. That's
yes.
the best one out right now, which is strangely the same price as a PS4 Pro. Yeah, I love talking about this. Did I mention this on the podcast? Did I mention the Xbox One X? Like, you can get that bundled with Fallout 76. like it's less expensive than if you just got like a normal
I remember
one.
you that because yeah, I remember you saying that like
Jeez, that
3 weeks ago when we were talking about it, like in the beginning when it came out.
But
yeah, I
I'm sorry, continue.
I was just saying I
yeah,
remember him saying it
it's
was cheaper
yeah,
than it.
it's like the PlayStation 4. They can price it at the same price as Xbox One X because they still have those exclusives, which are gonna get people to buy it still.
Yeah.
Exclusives matter.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Some people. I could take it or leave it. Honestly, I'd rather leave it. I'd rather just that they stop with the exclusives. Both. Wait, and
Oh, me
this
too.
goes also for Epic. Like doing the
Yeah,
same similar thing on the PC market right now, but
I wish like every Weeaboo game that's on PlayStation, I wish I could launch that on my PC. I wish that was like on Steam or Epic or anything. I could have like 20 different launchers. I could make a shortcut and it wouldn't be a big deal. Just a folder full of shortcuts. Just I'd be all for it, man. But not well, Xbox they've kind of fallen back on trying to support PC and crossplay and stuff like that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them incorporating Linux more into their operating system. A lot of that is over my head, but I part of my segment is talking about that later.
so there's a rumor that the Xbox Lockhart might not have a disk drive similar to the well, it actually launched this week. The Xbox One S All Digital Edition.
Sad.
Yeah, the Xbox One SAD launched this week, and there's a rumor that the Xbox Lockhart, since it is mainly like it's built for lighter use and more streaming focused. It will make use of Microsoft xCloud with streaming service, which we're still waiting to hear more about. But and as for price points, it's expected that the Anaconda will launch at around $500, and that's what we're expecting the PlayStation 5 to launch at. Meanwhile, it's also expected that the Xbox Lockhart will be launching at roughly the same price as the Xbox One S All Digital Edition at around $250.
So half the price.
It's a very interesting game they're playing with these two consoles, and I gotta say, I'm interested to see how it goes. All right, moving on from the two consoles into a bit of a interesting situation. It's kind of been building up to this for over a year. When did Battlefront 2 launch? Was it last year or was it 2017?
I want to say 2 years ago.
So we all know the backlash that hit. We all know that like countries have banned loot boxes since then, and EA fought it before finally giving up. But now it seems they might have another fight on their hands if EA wants to keep doing what they're doing, because Republican Senator of Missouri Josh Hawley has announced a bill that would ban loot boxes and pay-to-win microtransactions from in games played by games played by minors, which is a broad label that the senator says will include both games designed for kids under 18 and games whose developers knowingly allow minor players to engage in microtransactions. So think like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and games like that, you know?
I think there's a lot of like ecosystems on consoles that they should just like it's almost like a school zone almost. And right now there are like no regulations to
I mean, to be
protect.
fair, the same can be said about PC and games like Counter-Strike and various other games there as well. But it is what it is, and honestly, I agree with this bill because it'll finally put some pressure on a few select on some certain companies that have been leaning more and more towards more and more microtransactions as a way to basically
Who
rob people, I guess you
who do
could
you
say.
who do you think put the senator up to this? Was it was
That's
it like
true.
a
That's a really good question because
is
I
it
doubt
like
he's sitting there behind his desk like,
Well,
game
I
me.
remember like back when the whole Battlefront 2 thing was what was in the spotlight. A Hawaiian senator proposed something similar to this, and senators and House representatives have been talking about this basically since then, and they just hadn't really found a way to do this properly. And this seems like it might be a way to finally fight back, I guess you could say. One of the things
Yeah.
that they actually specifically state is his team brought up specifically the Activision game, formerly owned by King, Candy Crush, as an egregious example of pay-to-win microtransactions, thanks to its $150 Luscious bundle that comes with a whole bunch of goodies.
it's like pre-installed on like a bunch of different things.
But it goes on to say this bill will also likely apply to a host of online games that feature loot boxes and other ways in which players can spend money for real benefits. I could probably name a couple dozen off the top of my head, but I'll just stick to naming some franchises like Call of Duty. Assassin's Creed recently started doing microtransactions. Overwatch will probably have to take out loot boxes. EA, like pretty much, I don't even need to name a franchise, just all of EA's games.
Yeah.
You know, the last Call of Duty game I got was Black Ops 2. I think that was
That was
back
kind
in-
of really when Activision was starting to test the field with loot boxes and some microtransaction
Okay,
stuff.
okay, that was the first Call of Duty where they had a DLC gun. It's called the Peacekeeper.
That gun was amazing, by the
It
way.
was a,
But
it was
but
a
that came.
submachine gun. It was the submachine gun with a bit more range, similar to an assault rifle.
It was an assault rifle SMG hybrid gun, but that was actually, you got that as part of a map pack, so it wasn't like you had to buy that separately. That was just given to you if you got the map pack or the season pass.
See, so
But that
Call of
was
Duty now. Do you buy like individual guns now and stuff?
no,
It's not just
you
skins?
buy loot boxes with a chance of getting a new weapon.
Yeah, it's not even
And-
guaranteed. It's
and-
literally gambling.
And we're talking, like, we're not talking skins. We're talking actual.
Actual like weapon configurations. I wouldn't say they're weapons because they're just like configurations of weapons in the game that can have a possibility of being more powerful than the base weapon. So it's just like modifying the stats of existing weapons. There are some stuff that are like you can only get them in loot boxes. Like
That
there's
wiki
specific melee
must-
weapons and various things, you know.
That wiki must be really confusing if you're looking up like gun stats because none of it matters almost. It's like if there's like all these like different. It's like there's like Borderlands like like
Yeah,
different
basically,
stats.
it's stupid, and
that
it's
is real stupid.
it's pretty bad, and by pretty bad I mean, fuck. Like it is really bad, and
Because
it's
I
getting
walked away
worse.
at a good time.
The situation when it comes to loot boxes and pay to win microtransactions, it's getting worse and worse. And I honestly think this is the way this is like the only way we can rewrite the gaming industry get it back on track instead of just making these games where it's like it's a money sink. Like, give us a game where we can actually play it without having to buy something to actually get through it.
Yeah.
And it really started on mobile, and then it just bled into consoles. It seems like these types of tactics, to the point where you're buying like a $60 full price game at launch, and then they want you to buy a season pass for another $60, and then they put in like the cell phone microtransactions on top of that, which is what we're just describing here.
Yeah.
So it's like
you buy premium currencies, and then you use premium currency to buy like stat boosts and stuff like that. Mobile games I'm talking about, obviously, right now. And
another experimentation. Remember like the Mountain Dew and Doritos?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, like
XP?
the double XP stuff. I remember
That
that.
was in Halo 2. I
remember
actually
that.
bought some Mountain Dew for that just to see what it was like.
And
I haven't found
they've
that
had
one for a
features.
store.
They still have features like that. Like whenever a new Call of Duty launches, they team up with Mountain Dew and Doritos. And now it's not even double XP. It's now it's not even double XP. It's like buy specially marked Doritos and Mountain Dew for a loot box or something like that.
Yeah.
I read some caption, something from 4chan, and it was just like someone describing a dystopian future where it's like you have to like drink Mountain Dew to log on to Xbox Live.
Oh
Jesus.
God.
It's like part of it.
Speaking of Mountain Dew, this podcast not sponsored by PepsiCo. I mean, unless they want to sponsor us, I wouldn't say no.
I'll drink it all day. You want a sponsor?
I'm sure they do some kind of bottled water. I'll drink that.
Well, yeah, actually. Let's see. Which bottled water brand is Pepsi? I think
Maybe
I think
Aquafina?
that
I want to say
it's either Dasani or Aquafina. One of those two is Coke. One of those two is Pepsi.
Yeah.
So, all right. So yeah, moving away from the loot box dystopia to a brief mention of we'll be covering E3 this year. Obviously, look forward to it. E3 starts June 11th and runs till June 13th. Though obviously the press conferences have moved to basically the weekend before. Over the last couple of years. So we actually, this last week, everybody's given their the dates and times for their shows this year. So we'll be starting off with Microsoft on Sunday, which is the earliest show we've gotten from them, I believe. Sunday, June 9th at 1 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. British Standard Time. And then...
There's so many bowing out that aren't doing it anymore. It's
both
like
Sony and EA are bowing out this year. They haven't said if it's going to be permanent, which I doubt, but we'll see. They're not going to be there this year, as far as we know. Microsoft, again, Sunday, June 9th at 1 p.m. Then we have Bethesda, Sunday, June 9th at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 1:30 a.m. British Standard Time Monday. Then there's the PC Gaming Show, which is Monday, June 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. British Standard Time. We have Ubisoft's conference, which is Monday, June 10th at 1 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. British Standard. Then we have Square Enix, which is Monday, June 10th, again at 6 p.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. British Standard Time, Tuesday. Then lastly, we have Nintendo, which will be doing their Nintendo Direct on Tuesday the 11th. Yeah, Tuesday the 11th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and they didn't give a British time for the show.
When Square Enix did theirs last year, all it was just reel to reel, back to back trailers. Which maybe some people, that's what they just want to see. You know, oh, here are the games. But usually, a typical conference, there's like some representative that's out there talking about stuff, or you know, they have some sort of live demo of gameplay, or you know, there's something like that. Square Enix, it was just trailer after trailer, and like people in the comments section on Twitch were just very, very confused about what constitutes an E3 presence at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
was really
Bethesda
confused, too.
did that like their second year at E3, remember? Like the first year at E3 was when they did the whole we're launching Fallout 4 this year. And then I think it was the next year, it was just an hour-long reel of stuff that they have coming, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But even then, didn't they have like Todd Howard? Or
No, they
something?
didn't have anybody. It was literally just an hour-long reel of Bethesda Land, remember?
That's got to be the easiest gig ever. Like, hey, we're going to E3, but no one has to talk. We're just going to show some clips.
Okay. I do remember the Bethesda Land. So that year they did the Bethesda Land, there wasn't any.
There was no stage. It was nothing. It was basically their version of a Nintendo Direct, I guess you could say. It was just like, here you go. This is what we have this year, and here's what's coming down the line.
You know, just in recent memory, before we started doing this podcast, the closest thing that I saw to something that was like an E3 event, I think it was like Borderlands. It was a Gearbox event where they at the end they showed like Borderlands 3, and it was, you know, it's. I know we're being maybe mean or something, like, but I don't know. I just like criticizing and nitpicking some of these events sometimes.
I just like judging people.
Yeah. Like it's just I don't. They just they tried to show like that reveal trailer for Borderlands 3, and it was like they couldn't get it to work. Like they tried showing it like 5 times, and there were people screaming like VLC. They would show it, and the trailer would be running at like 12 frames per second or something. Like everything was just like really dysfunctional. And by the end, they finally got it to work, but it was very, very humiliating. I've never seen it like that. Never seen anything like that. I mean, I've seen, you know, what was that? Late 90s, like they're doing like a Windows 98 demo, and like they got a blue screen like in the middle of that. That's
I don't remember whose press conference this was, but I don't know. It obviously wasn't a Nintendo press conference, but for like a brief moment, the Legend of Zelda music played.
Oh my god.
Like I don't know whose press conference that was, but I guess somebody had had the Legend of Zelda theme somewhere on the playlist for whatever reason.
Wow.
And it only lasted for like a couple seconds before it switched to the music it should have been, but that was just funny.
as soon as it played, it was just someone was like, change it, skip.
Let's see. There's been a lot of E3 moments we could be very harsh to. Like, there's been so many cheesy and corny moments. Thankfully, we've mostly gotten past it. I want to say mostly because even still, there's always going to be one or two every year. But yeah, so that does it for gaming news. Let's move on to tech news, shall we?
I just want to mention this before we get into tech news. There was a Final Fantasy VII remake teaser trailer that was released yesterday or today. I think everybody ought to go check that out. It's a minute and a half, a minute to a minute and a half, I think.
Was there any gameplay in it though? Because we've seen the we've seen the CG trailers for it, and I just want to see how it looks gameplay wise.
There were screens with like heads up displays or overlays that gave like the button controls like to attack or defend and stuff like that. I mean, combat wise it's probably going to be similar to either Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 15 as far as what the combat's going to be.
We've heard that it's probably that it's going to be closer to the combat's, and it's obviously not going to be turn based. It's going to be real time, just like Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3.
In the teaser, you see Cloud block in real time, like an incoming attack.
I'll have to check that out. I didn't notice that dropped.
Yeah, it's showing more clips from the first part of the game. Most of the best parts, or most of Disc 1 in Final Fantasy 7 took place in like this cyberpunk dark city called Midgar, and that's what all the clips are from, and that's what the first release of what this Final Fantasy 7 project is going to be. They're not going to ship the whole game at first. They're just going to probably ship out the Midgar section.
There have been rumors that it will be released episodically, though we're not 100% certain on that yet. They're keeping pretty tight-lipped about it, but there has been rumors circulating that it will be released episodically.